How's it going, guys? So today I'm going to be putting myself in the shoes of my former self, or more specifically, a gym noob. So somebody who's looking to start to work out and is going to the internet to look for information and helpful tips. I'm not going to focus too much on already established fitness websites and resources, even stuff from YouTube. I think there's been enough reviewing of different training videos and things like that from influencers. Instead, I want to focus more on some more mainstream media. You'll see more what I mean when I start Googling stuff. So today I thought I'd start with best and worst chest exercises. That seems like a pretty basic thing that any beginner would want to look up. This is definitely something I looked up when I first started training and didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, we're just going to see what we find now in January of 2022. So let's see, best and worst chest exercises. So again, I'm not going to do too much of the YouTube video reviews, especially from like Athlete X. I think enough people have done that. Box Rocks, barbell.com. I haven't heard of either of these. Medium and Men's Health. Okay, that's perfect. So that's what I mean by like mainstream media. It's like stuff that is not just in the fitness space. And the reason for that is because those resources are more prone to being full of misinformation. It makes for good content. So let's look at the Medium. What do they say? So it starts with, there are so many chest exercises out there that sometimes you don't know which ones you should use or which one you should focus your efforts on. I'm going to give you the most popular chest exercises ranked from worst to best. Pretty simple, and they I just said this is great for content, and I wasn't kidding. Starting up the list and working our way up the rankings from worst chest exercise to best, we have bench flies. Bench flies are at the bottom of the list because they place your shoulder joint in a position that increases the risk of injury. What? Not only this, but there are many more exercises that are more beneficial and safer than the bench fly. For these reasons, it belongs at the bottom of the list. Okay, so let's get something clear here. The reason I'm laughing at this, okay? Your chest primarily does one movement, which is horizontal shoulder adduction. I'll show it on the screen. And you can do this at different angles, right? So if you want to train your upper chest, you can do this motion from a higher angle. If you want to do lower, you go lower. It's pretty simple, and bench flies isolate that movement. I understand the idea of maybe putting your shoulder in that position where there's a lot of torque on that joint because of a weight that's held out to the side. That maybe could be painful for a beginner, but I don't think it's unreasonable to be able to do that movement with a low amount of resistance. And in addition, if you can work up to doing it with higher weight, you're gonna really be training your chest well. So this is a terrible piece of information. 2, standing cable press. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Standing cable press, I would argue, is maybe better for a beginner than the bench fly. So they got that relative degree of goodness or badness correct. But again, the exercise is still training horizontal shoulder adduction. So I don't know why this is so low on the list. I can think of other chest exercises that are much worse than this. And again, especially for a beginner, you can just decrease the resistance. If someone's having trouble and feeling pain in their shoulders, then just decrease the weight. The standing cable press may be a surprising exercise for some to be in the worst category. Well, at least they're self-aware. However, it belongs in this category because of the core strength to perform this exercise correctly. What? I'm not even going to finish that sentence. There is a time and place for doing exercises that additionally engage your core. Especially when someone's just starting out, they should be doing core training anyway. Doing an exercise like this and telling them how to engage their core properly might actually be helpful for them. Especially if it's someone who wants to do more total body exercises and workouts, or someone who's looking to get more results faster. It seems to me like this article is going to say that isolation exercises are the best for a beginner. And again, I think there's a time and place for everything. It depends. But this is not even doing that much at the same time. I don't know. That's stupid. High incline bench press. Okay, at this point, I don't even know if I should go on. These are all fantastic chest exercises. These are all exercises that, with proper form, you can do as a beginner. The angle of the incline bench press should be the focus of the exercise. For example, if you use too steep of an angle on the bench, most of the work is done by the front deltoid rather than the chest. Lowering the angle will make this exercise superior for building chest size and strength. Okay, remember how I just pointed out that you can do bench presses at different angles to train different parts of your chest, right? If you're ever confused about which muscle you're training or which part of the muscle you're training, just do this. Exercises basically do this, okay? They either do this, they're opening, or they're closing about a pivot point. For these exercises, right, I am closing my upper arm into my chest. The pivot point is my shoulder. And what you do is you look at either what is moving these lines together or what is moving them apart. So in this case, I'm closing something. What's in between here and here? It's my chest. That's what I'm training when I do this motion. That's why you can move your arm at different angles and train different parts of your chest, because up here, what's in between this and this? It's my upper chest. Down here, what's in between this and this? It's the lower part of my chest. All of these exercises train your chest because they all do this, just at different angles or in different positions. There's no reason why these should be the worst exercises. Okay, number for push-ups. This is awful. Standard push-ups are a great accessory exercise. What is an accessory exercise? However, if you don't want to build size and strength, the standard push-up is something you don't want to be focused. Wait, I'm sorry. However, if you want to build size and strength, the standard push-up is something you don't want to be focusing your time and energy on. Okay, so unless push-ups are being done as a high repetition metabolic exercise at the end of a hard chest or push workout, you should instead focus on what? Oh man. In my experience, a lot of beginners don't like to just do a lot of push-ups. But the push-up is not a bad beginner exercise. Push-ups, because you only need your body weight, are one of the most accessible and easy to learn exercises, and in addition they work your core. It's basically like doing an elevated plank. And then this idea that they shouldn't be done unless it's at the end of your chest workout? Like, what is going on here? In addition, one of the most important things for a beginner is stability. And a great chest stability exercise is doing push-ups at a slower tempo. Floor flies. Why is this, what? I don't understand why, how is this better than a bench fly? While floor flies are better than bench flies, they still limit the amount of resisted adduction that it provides. Therefore, switching to cables will always be optimal for resisting adduction of the shoulder and building a bigger chest. So if using cables is superior, then why is this above the standing cable press? This is horrible. Underhand dumbbell
This should be at the bottom.
This should be at the bottom. Why is this number 6? The underhand dumbbell bench press is an exercise. What? Building the upper chest without the equipment of an inclined bench or cables? It can build lots of power in the chest. This makes no sense. Just do a normal bench press. I think the movement that they're trying to isolate is like shoulder flexion in addition to horizontal adduction, which I'm at a loss for words now. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. Pretty much nothing that they have said is good advice. Twisting push-ups. Twisting push-ups are a more challenging version of the basic push-up. The benefits of twisting push-ups allow for slight adduction that stimulates the pectoral muscles better and allows for increased growth. What? Okay, here's the problem. I'm gonna get up and show you this. The motion that they're saying, adduction, it's this. If I'm here, okay, and I'm twisting, guess what gravity is helping me do in this position? It's helping me adduct my shoulders, right? It's helping me do this. So how does that add a challenge? That's helping me do the movement that I'm trying to create resistance for. Oh my god, I don't understand. And they already said push-ups were bad. So why are you making them harder? I don't understand this at all. This is insanity. This is one of the worst articles I think I've ever seen in my life. Cable crossovers. Okay, how is the when you're doing cable crossovers, you also have to stimulate your core. So how is this any better than a standing cable press by their argument? Cable crossover isn't ranked higher because it has the same limitations as a standing cable press for balance and core. They even say that! Cable bench press. Cable bench press is one of my all-time favorite ways to stimulate chest muscle. The course this exercise will be the best for building maximal bench press strength. Nevertheless, it's a great accessory exercise that increases. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that exercise, but I don't get why it's higher than all the others. Dumbbell upper chest pull-over. Oh, you need to incorporate this exercise in your next push day if you're looking for better recruitment of the upper chest fibers. That is just straight up wrong. I believe there are some fibers in your lower chest that help with shoulder extension. They are sure as fuck not in your upper chest. And also, why would you give that exercise to a beginner? I would much rather have them do a normal dumbbell bench press or a bench fly, because they're going to stimulate more of their chest by doing those exercises. Okay, and now they list their top 4 exercises and they start with dips. What is happening? Most of the work that you're doing when you're doing dips is in your triceps. I'm wondering at this point, is this an April Fool's Day joke article? Because this can't be real. Heavy one-arm crossovers. I don't understand. So they said that standing cable flies and cable crossovers have a core stability and balance challenge that might be too much for beginners. Do they realize that doing something with one arm, so doing a unilateral exercise, is more challenging stability-wise than something that's bilateral using both arms? They're contradicting themselves every other sentence. Optimal incline bench press. Why is this better than the dumbbell incline bench press? And then they say all 3 of these exercises can be done almost anywhere with limited equipment. No, they can't. You're doing a barbell bench press. You need a rack, you need a bar, you need plates. If you're doing something heavy, you need a spotter. What is going on? And heavy one-arm crossovers, you need a freaking machine unless you're using resistance bands. Dips you can do with a chair or table, sure, that's fine. But these other 2, no, that's not a minimal equipment exercise. You know what is? A freaking push-up. Oh, and here's the best, barbell bench press or dumbbell bench press. Yeah, that's great. Those are great. I think everybody knows that that's a good exercise for your chest though. While the bench press is limited to adduction, it still allows for the heaviest weight to be lifted in constant tension over time that allows the best opportunity for progressive load and therefore reign supreme. Which one of these other exercises doesn't use adduction and, I guess besides the twisting push-up, doesn't allow for constant tension over time? The only exercises they showed were gravity-based resistance exercises. When a weight is under the influence of gravity, that force doesn't change. So for all of these weighted exercises, you're going to feel that constant pull of gravity acting on the weight that you're moving. If they were making a distinction between, say, weights and resistance bands, maybe that would be different because bands develop more tension the more you pull or push them. But that sentence makes no sense. If you want to make bench press even better, combine the one-arm crossover as a drop set after each set. Okay. Now I'm done. I'm done. Well, the article's done. Thank goodness. That was atrocious. I'm at a loss for words. Okay, well, now that we've seen some of the worst of this, I'm going to give my recommendations and my thoughts on what the best and worst chest exercises are for a beginner. When you're thinking about best and worst exercises, you want to consider a few things. So first, obviously, what equipment and environment is available to you, right? So are you training at home? Are you training in a gym? If you're training at home, what equipment do you have? If you're at a gym, what equipment are you comfortable using? So that's the first thing. You have your environment and your equipment. But in addition, you also have to consider what goals you're training for. The thing that people often don't understand is that most fitness goals can be branched off from a few very fundamental skills and goals. And those main skills and goals are things like core stability, muscular endurance, and basic muscular strength, cardiorespiratory conditioning, and you can combine all of those into your training by making a few acute variable adjustments and picking the right exercises. So, my recommendations for each of these things: for stability and balance, you want to choose exercises that put you in a position where you have to stabilize yourself. Push-ups are good for that because it's an additional core challenge and you have to keep your back and spine in a neutral position while you're doing the movement. To add additional stability challenge, you can try this. Go slow on the way up, pause at the top, and then come down. For muscular endurance, what you want to do is increase your reps. So you want to do between 12 to 20 or even more if you can. Another thing that'll help with endurance is if you reduce your rest time. So 60 seconds at most. If you have to take more rest though because you're really out of breath, that's totally fine. But in that case, maybe do fewer reps. For general muscular strength, there are a few different ways to do this. One, for a very, very base level of strength, you can use machines. Machines are also great for beginners because they're very accessible. They're usually right at the front of the gym and they do a lot of the stability work for you because there are all these pads and other things to keep your body in the correct position while you isolate the movement that you're working on. So those can be great for helping you develop a better mind-muscle connection and increasing a base level of strength. However, another way to increase your strength is, again, to change up your tempo. Say if you wanted to turn push-ups into a more strength-focused exercise, instead of going slow on the way up, pausing and then coming down, you could just go at a steady pace, like 2 counts up and 2 counts down. Cardiorespiratory conditioning. A few ways to do this with your basic resistance training. You can do circuits or triple sets of exercises, or just take very low rest times in between each exercise. So you notice in everything I just said, the only example exercise I gave was push-ups, and I offer 2 different ways to do push-ups to achieve 2 different goals. My point in doing that is to show you that exercises can be modified to achieve different things, and as long as you are training the movement that the target muscle is made to do, for instance, with your chest, you're training horizontal shoulder adduction, and to a degree shoulder flexion, then you can make any exercise really good or really bad. All exercises are movements driven by muscular contraction in direct opposition to a resistive force. Your muscles have fibers that contract internally. That contraction moves your bones about your joints. When you add resistance like a weight or a resistance band, you're using that resistance to go against that muscular contraction to make the contraction more difficult. That is what every exercise is at its core in resistance training. So forget this article and all the nonsense that they just spewed. If you want to get more out of chest training specifically, then just make sure to do exercises that prioritize horizontal shoulder adduction and shoulder flexion. An example of a bad chest exercise that perhaps brings in other muscles that aren't relevant is something like the pinch press, especially when you're standing up. I've seen people do this exercise. They hold a plate between their hands like this and they press out like this. When you're moving a weight like this, what resistance is this weight providing? Again, gravity only acts downwards. So really, you're mostly training your anterior deltoids because they create shoulder flexion and the weight wants to go in the opposite direction. That is not a good chest exercise. People just like it because you can like squeeze your pecs together and like really feel the contraction up here. But that's not going to do as much for your chest as, say, a standing cable fly, even though that's one of the worst chest exercises according to this stupid article. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Be careful about what you read on the internet, especially when it comes to fitness and exercise. People like to overcomplicate things and spew whatever they can just to get views and clicks and push out content. But as I do more videos in this series, hopefully you guys will see that when it comes to optimal training, it really just depends on a few basic fundamentals that you need to master. There's no need for all these lists of 15 to 20 different exercises that people say are good or bad. You can make a wide variety of exercises work for your goals and your circumstances if you just adjust the right things. If you enjoyed this video, please drop me a like and a sub, leave a comment if you want to share your own thoughts, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.